According to the March of Dimes, nearly 60% of pregnancies in the US are unplanned. When you find out that you're pregnant and not ready, you have three choices: parenting, abortion, or adoption. How do you find peace with the decision that you make? With me is Melanie Haggard, who was faced with having to make this daunting choice. How do you move forward when you are in that stuck? Now, Melanie, that was actually you. You ended up being pregnant at, how old were you?
19.
You're 19 years old, you're pregnant, and were you one of those that said, this is not going to happen to me?
Yes.
So here you are, you say, this is not going to happen to me. It happens to you. Did you tell anybody?
My boyfriend.
How did he respond?
Quietly, not much. And then his mother. So they didn't seem upset by it.
Wow. So you decide to keep the baby. You keep going into the situation. Where were you living at the time?
In Sacramento.
You were in Were you with your mom, with your dad? Where were you at?
My mom's house.
Okay. Did she notice you were pregnant?
No, she didn't.
How long did it take before she found out?
I called her at 8 months along from my dad's house.
Whoa, so you actually went to your dad's house first. You're 8 months carrying this baby. Your mom and you were kind of distanced, even
Yes.
living in the same house.
Yes.
She never noticed you were pregnant.
No.
Nothing. That's amazing. So here you were, you're 8 months pregnant. You go to visit your dad. Was that kind of a moment of despair because you knew you needed to do something?
It was a moment of where can I go for safety, because I really thought my mother would be quite upset, if not rage at me, and that was kind of her history. And so my dad was more of a benign, understanding person, and I thought the only safe person for me to tell in the family would be my dad. And I just called him, said, "Dad, I'm coming down," and he said, "Okay." And he's in the Bay Area, Marin County, actually.
So you go to your dad's house.
Right.
You don't say anything. Did he notice?
Yes, he did. We went on a day trip someplace. I don't remember where. And I'm very ashamed and mortified because it's my dad and I love him deeply. And all he said in the car was, "Don't you have something to tell me?" And I just burst out in tears and didn't say anything. I couldn't. I was uncontrollably crying, actually.
Wow. Oh, that must have hit him to the core. A core of his soul. You know, here
Yeah.
you are, you tell him. Now your dad knows you're pregnant, and what I would want if I would have been you, I would have wanted my dad to take me in, to embrace me and be there for me.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what he did for you?
He did. Of course, he was driving the car up the freeway, up Northern California someplace, and I could feel it in his spirit, though, because he and I were just connected from the hip in the spirit, however you want to put it, and we could feel each other. And I knew he was feeling like very sad for me, but supportive of me at the same time, and then made some phone calls from a family friend and found out some options. He could resource at that time, and I couldn't resource.
Oh, okay.
It was way over my head.
Now, did your dad want to take you in?
He probably would have, but he didn't know how to deal with raising children, let alone a pregnant gal, and that was way over his head, his own pregnant daughter.
Now, wasn't he at the time gay?
Yeah.
For a period of time, but he was a good guy still.
Yes.
But you know, he did have that lifestyle. I wonder if he did not want to expose you to that lifestyle.
It's possible.
At the same time.
It's a flip side of the coin. It's like maybe exposing to his friends or whatever about his daughter being in such trouble. Could be either way. I don't know. We didn't talk at that level, but we understood each other.
Now, if this would have been my husband, he would have said, "Call your mother." Did your father do that?
He did. I didn't expect that. I wasn't about to do that, but I can't say he forced me. He called her and he said, "Melanie has to talk to you," and handed the phone to me. And because it was my dad, I took the phone and told my mom.
You told your mom. How did she respond?
She was angry. Her questions were, because for my mother, being a teacher, education was everything. This is before she knew the Lord, and that was your answer to every life's problem. So she said, "What about school?" Because I was in junior college. And I said, "I'll go back and complete the school in the fall." And that's what I did.
Wow, wow. So did you go back to your mom afterwards?
I did for a short time.
All right, but then you ended up moving on, and what was your decision? You know, you're 8 months pregnant. It's too late for an abortion. You did not want that to begin with. Here you are, you're going to keep it or you're going to adopt it. What did you decide to do?
I know because of the lifestyle I'm living. I had not grown up with a Cinderella fantasy at all. Didn't do dolls, didn't do any of that. Kind of maybe a tomboy. I had never planned on being pregnant or married. So when my dad suggested a couple of unwed mothers' homes, which is what you did at the time, to be away from family so they don't have to go through the stigma with you or something, I went for that and went through the process of adoption.
Wow. So you chose to adopt it out. You have the baby probably at one of those homes right there.
Right.
And after the baby was born, did they take the baby away immediately, or did you get to see the baby, or do they try to avoid as much as possible of contact to not get attached, you know?
That's correct. That's exactly what happened. Given the fact, even though it was San Francisco in the late 60s, 1969, there's still a lot of stigma. It's a quiet thing you do. No one's supposed to know about it. It's a sealed contract that you sign. This is what I agreed to, et cetera, et cetera. And they allowed me to see the baby only after I questioned them about why I can't. I didn't know that if you were in that process, and of course the whole hospital seemed to know that I was in that process as opposed to the regular way you take a baby home with you. And they had to question me about that. Why would I want to see the baby if I'm giving her up? That didn't make sense to a medical mind.
Right, right.
And I said, every mother wants to see that her baby's healthy.
And I want to go there right there, but just a moment. You want to see your baby, and they don't want you to see your baby. You just have given birth. You've carried that baby for 9 months. Stay tuned and see what the doctor did. In John 4, verse 24, it says, God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. How do you do that? How do you make that happen? Well, we have created for you a brand new series called Power Up. The first part, you have to deal with starting to spend time with him, in the presence, in his presence, getting to know him. Your words have power and make an impact. How do you actually start hearing God's voice? And then what are the prayer requests that you can place that actually will make an impact and make a difference in your life and also in those who are other people? We love to train you, we love to teach you and power you up for what God has to share with you. Will you contact us, BarbTV.org, or go to 855-515-5550. God loves you, and so do I. And he is looking forward to teach you to get to know him at a more intimate level. Once a child goes through the adoption process and it's official, it legitimately terminates the parental rights permanently. After it's all said and done, even when the adoption was the most selfless and positive thing to do, the birth mother is left with the memories and at some point will have to deal with emotional effects of guilt and of shame. How do you work through that? You're there, you want to see your baby. The other birth mothers, the mothers that have given birth, I assume, are feeding their babies.
Correct.
You're looking at this, you looking like the odd bird, I think, and here you are, and you're saying, I want to see my baby.
Correct.
How do they respond to that?
Great concern on the nurse's face, great quizzical look, and she said, hang on, I'll need to speak to the doctor. And I'm thinking, okay, she does. She leaves the room, goes and gets the doctor. He comes in with her, and he questions me. Why would I want this? And I, quizzical look on me, why would I not? But something about, you have signed papers that you're going to give up. I said, that's correct. He said he couldn't get that through. It doesn't make sense in his logical mind. And I finally just said, standing up for myself for once, I said, every mother wants to see if her baby is healthy. I want to count fingers and toes, as I remember I said. He just kind of nodded his head. They made a call to a social worker because now it starts everything like, oh no, we don't have a baby that we said to a family they can, whatever. And so that's on their plate. I just want to see my baby and alleviate the fears of the other mothers around me who get theirs and look at me like, oh no, maybe they don't know, stillborn, passed away.
Nothing.
And they finally do bring my child. She was a good weight, a good color, and she was all, of course, wrapped up. And I unwrapped her and looked at every little precious finger and toe on her. And she was perfect.
Did you have tears in your eyes when you were doing this?
I would call it extreme amazement that something so beautiful is something that I produced, of course, with God's help and that, even unexpected. I actually could not take my eyes off her.
Wow. Now, you know you're going to say goodbye. You don't know where she's going to end up. You know it's going to be good, but you don't actually know.
Right.
So for you to do that was one of the most selfless things you could have done, to give this child a better life, basically. That's what you chose.
Yes.
And you're doing that at that moment. Is there anything, any words you told that 1-day-old baby that day?
After I looked at her, and she seemed to be looking at me like she knew I was her mother, which kind of doesn't make sense to me. But her eyes just seemed to, I didn't know that babies that young could focus on a face. And she just focused right at me like she was loving me, looking at me, knowing I was her mother. Something resonated deep inside that I didn't know I had. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm the only real, meaning biological, the only real mother this baby is ever going to have. And something welled up inside of me, and I thought, I have to tell her something. I have to give her something. I may not see her again. I didn't know if they'd even bring her back to me at feeding time. And so I said to her, I love you. I had never felt love in my life before. Acceptance from my dad, yes. Love, not so much. And I thought, I told somebody I love them. That was the first time I believe I ever had told anybody I loved them.
Wow.
That was a new thing for me. Couldn't say that to anybody before. After a very harsh childhood, I just didn't, I was too stuffed down. Didn't know what love was.
So you're going through that. And by the way, if you want to see her, Melanie Haggard's other show about that childhood, about being put in an orphanage and being a number, like number 36, go to our website at barbtv.org and go to our channel with YouTube and check it out, and I know you'll be touched by that show the way I was. And here you are. Your baby is put up for adoption.
Correct.
You were able to name it, but they renamed it after that, and you signed off all your rights.
Correct.
You start living your own life. How did you do when you saw babies around you, or did that make an impact on you? How were you working through all this?
Initially, walking through San Francisco afterwards, which is where she was born, with my sister and my sister's husband. The shocking thing was walking down the street in a lovely sunny day and seeing everybody that had a baby, any baby at all, small child, for miles. I'm like, every baby was like an aura around it. I don't know how else to put it. And I noticed every baby on the planet, and I had never done that before. And I went, okay, what's wrong with me? I actually thought there's something wrong with me. Do I miss her? No, I don't think that's it. It's gone according to plan.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't break down or get sad necessarily, reminding you that I'm quite stuffed in my emotions, so it's just, everything's just buried. I'm very good at that, so I just kind of go on like this is the same thing. Mm-hmm. And something was happening deep down, and I just remember that. Just noticing not necessarily crying babies, just any child, any stroller, any happy parents, and I'm like, whoa. I wasn't raised in a happy childhood. I'm seeing happy people with newborns, and that just was, yes.
You remember it clearly,
yes,
very clearly.
Very clearly.
So here you are, you become a Christian, you happily marry, now you have your own baby. Was it still stuck in your mind always to worry or to think about what happened to your little girl?
You do think about that. I can tell you the great difference between now having my second daughter and my first, the whole situation, being a Christian, being married and all.
Yeah.
But you think about, did she get adopted by a good family? Are they both still there for her? Is she enjoying that family? Does she go to church? Is she look anything like me? I mean, there's a million questions you don't get answered. And you kind of just live with that.
Now, you know the agency, of course, said, all contact broken.
Correct.
So did you do anything? I think I would have tried to get a hold of that agency and say, did she ever want to see me or anything? Did you do any of that?
A little. I only was aware of when she was about 9 or 10 that there was thrusts, politically speaking, out there to change the laws about the sealed records surrounding the secretive, scarlet letter on your chest situations where you may be forced by parents to sign off the baby, and there's all kinds of situations. I wanted to do that for her sake.
Yeah.
And so at about 10 years old, starting to see what was out there going on in the media, politically and all,
Yeah.
Opening adoption records, which of course caught my attention. Here's this Concerned United Birth Parents agency, advocate, whatever you want to call it, and I looked into that and thought, and they said at that point, courts will never open a record unless there's absolute medical necessity. Your daughter comes up sick and the parents don't have a medical history. So I wrote to the agency and I said, if in fact, in case any time, adoptive parent or my birth daughter wants to reunite, I sign over my rights, give them up, however I put it, let her come find me. This is where I'm at, my married name.
Wow.
She has a half-sister, and please contact me. And that's the letter I wrote.
You wrote that right there. And then Melanie wrote a letter and did not hear back right away. Stay tuned. You want to hear this.
Have you ever wanted a mentor that could help you move forward faster? Have you ever wanted to take some time and just cry out to God that, Lord, I just need someone who can help me to deal with all these situations in my life? Well, I want to tell you something. BarbTV.org is the place that you want to go. This is a time for you to be refreshed and restored. Real, clear-cut messages that will help you move forward faster in your life. Today is the day that God is answering your prayers. Get pen, paper, and your favorite beverage. Sit down and really listen to what they have to say. It's time, and God is calling you. How are you going to respond? Again, go to BarbTV.org.
With me is Melanie Haggard, and when she signed off of her child and adopted it out because she knew she could not raise it, it was one of the hardest decisions she ever made. The first time she ever said to anybody, I love you, it was to her 1 day old. It was the last time she saw her. Then about 10 years later, she sent a letter to the agency. Now, when you sent the letter to the agency, did you hear anything back right away?
One quick letter that said, we don't look at these old files. I mean, the other side of the adoption triangle, meaning the birth child and a adoptive parent, can be both or at least one, would have to sign off their rights to make disclosure happen.
Wow.
So I knew that at that time. Okay, it'll be when she's 18, if at all.
If at all. So
Yes.
Nothing happened at that point.
Correct.
So she turns 18 years old. Every birthday you think about her, I'm sure, that she has. Mm-hmm. Did anything happen when she turned 18?
I get a letter in the mail. It turns out the same day, she gets the same letter in the mail saying that, I get a letter saying she has made contact with the agency, and she gets a letter in the mail saying, your mother wrote a letter and had it in the file from 8 years ago when you were 10 years old. So we both know from that point, each of us is interested on having any kind of communication at some comfortable level. I mean, she's not really my daughter anymore. She belongs to her adoptive parents. As parents, the one that raised you is really your parent.
Right.
And that's the way it is. And so I don't know what her reaction was, but I fell into a veil of tears, just uncontrollable crying.
Was this the stuffing you had done all these years that actually was released at that moment?
It was a response to, A, she's alive. She has initiated contact after I had a letter. Thankfulness that I actually had a letter in the file. They were shocked to find one, the agency, and that this was going to happen. It was so overwhelming. I actually was on my way out to go to work, and I actually went through that work shift, which was, I don't know how I did that. I don't.
So she ends up contacting you.
Yes.
How did that happen?
before the week was out, I'd say a little less than a week, we came home from a camping trip, unpack, and my second daughter, who's now about 12, runs into the house and listens to the answering machine, which she's not supposed to do. I don't know she's done it. My husband and I are outside unpacking the car or whatever, and my daughter comes running out of the house. Mom, your first daughter has called you. What? And so I found out later on how she did that with use of computers and all
She figured it
white
out.
pages being.
She figured it out.
She figured it out. And
Did you call her back immediately?
No, I did not. It took me hours that
What
same
did
evening.
the answering machine say? What is it that's what's
The
did it
answering
say?
machine said, "Hello, my name is Lisa. I was born on such and such a date. I'm trying to find somebody named Melanie. I may have the wrong number, but if this resonates with you, would you please give me a call back?" And that was it.
Did she say, "Are you my mom?"
No.
Wow. So here you are. You finally call back. You both connect.
Mm-hmm.
You send pictures to each other. You get to know.
Gobs, yes. Oh my.
Did you look alike?
Initially, when she was born, she was blonde, but she had actually gone into dark brunette hair. But she was short and stocky like myself.
Yeah.
The rest of it came from her dad. So.
Wow. Well, so here you are. Now, if I would have been you, I would want to go see her. Mm-hmm. Did you go see her?
I did. It was amazing, miracle. I was in retail sales at the time, and you cannot ask for time off prior to Christmas, any Christmas, whatever year it is. Don't even ask to. And I thought, well,
Did
all
they
I can
give
do
it
is
off to
say
you?
no. Yes, I just wrote it out anyway. It's like, tell them the reason why. No qualms, didn't even call me in for a meeting or anything. They just granted
gave
my
it to you.
request. Yes.
So
just
you
gave-
fly over there. Your sister helps you with it.
Yes.
You get to the airport. You walk out of the gate.
Yes.
And you see each other.
Yes.
What was that initial moment? You know, every time I see my mom, and I haven't seen her for years, even knowing her, at that airport through customs, it is like emotional. Now you see her for the first time in 18 years, which is a gift from God.
Amen. It is.
No doubt.
Absolutely
God
no doubt about it.
blessed you after all you went through
Yes.
with a gift of
Yes.
a mercy, a gift, literally a gift. What did you laugh? What was it?
I spy her in the outfit she says she'll be wearing. She spies me. She has one fellow friend from high school that went through her with everything, so he was there off to the side. And we spy each other. We spy each other in this amazing, just people everywhere, just going to and fro, Metairie, Louisiana. And I walk to her quickly. She walks toward me. Our eyes are just absolutely zeroed in on each other. And we just hugged each other and could not let go, and lost it again. I don't uncontrollably cry, but that was the second time in my life, uncontrollable crying. I couldn't let her go. And to see that she was pretty, she was safe, she was well dressed, she seemed happy to see me. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to get rejection all over again. It's like, how can you do this to me? I mean, I still have to hear from her. She's been raised okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Has she had has she had bad parents? I'm like, am I going to get the brunt of all this? So,
wow. You went through all that. And
Yeah.
now you have a great relationship with her. You're all good. And what we're actually going to do, we want to call her. We're going to just call her if we can get a hold of Lisa.
Yes.
And see if we can get a hold of her.
Okay.
And let's do that right now.
Okay.
All right. And see if she has a word for you.
Okay.
All right. Let's see what happens. We're going to put her on loudspeaker for the audience. And
Okay.
Lisa, what a story. Hi, Lisa.
Lisa,
Lisa, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Great. We're at the BarbTV show, and I have your mom in the show right now, Melanie Haggard. Is there any way you could give her a word right now?
Yes, definitely. I'm just very thankful that she was kind enough to give me an opportunity to have a privileged life by doing the selfless thing of giving me up at a young age, knowing that she wasn't in the best position to care for me. I was very fortunate to be adopted by a loving mother and father who provided me with so much opportunity. So I've always been incredibly grateful to her for giving me that opportunity to have such a fortunate life.
Wow, wow. Melanie, Lisa, while you're saying that to me, your mom's crying, and I am touched as well. Thank you so much for sharing
You're welcome.
your bird mom with us today and having an incredible gift of life. We love you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow, when you just heard her voice like that, you know, I'm trying not to even get choked up. What did that just do?
She's always expressed thankfulness and love toward me, but to say this in front of everybody like that, she was not one so much to share the story, at least in the past. And I just think she's come a long way too.
Wow.
And it's amazing to me that she would share our story with other people.
Wow.
And be willing to do that, because I wasn't even sure she'd be available. She's on the job right now, so
Melanie,
it's amazing.
thank
It's a blessing.
you. Thank you for giving Lisa the gift of life. It's been a joy to
Thank
have
you
you
so
on the
much.
show.
Thank you.
And then for you right now, if questions came up or you want to get to know that God that loves you, or if there's that pain and struggle with those open wounds, we want to reach out to you. Call us 855-515-5550 or go to our website, BarbTV.org. God loves you. God loves Melanie. God loves Lisa. And He loves you too. Have a great day. We all want to have an experience with God, but when you have that experience with God, you want your kids to experience it too. And with me today is Linda Lang. She is with Life Application Ministries, and she has written 4 books and many, many booklets. And when you hear her story and start seeing she used to be the one that wanted nothing to do with God.
My mother loved me unconditionally. I had 5 sisters, and we all, we got along, and I was the one that was running away from home. I quit school in the 9th grade. I got pregnant at 17. I was the one that was the messy one. I was the black sheep, you might say. And I really cannot tell you that answer. The only thing I could come up with as you're asking me that question, that kind of downloaded to me, was that I had a need.
I think you're gonna like what you hear next.